So here we'll discuss about functions and recursive functions. A function is a subprogram which contains a set of instructions that are used to perform specified tasks. A function is used to provide a modularity to the software. A function can also help to avoid duplication of work. Once the function is called, it takes some data from the calling function and return back the some value to the called function. So whenever function is called, control passes to the called function and working of calling function is temporarily stopped. When the execution of the called function is completed, then the control return back to the calling function and executes the next statement. So the function operates on formal and actual arguments and send back the result to the calling function using return statement. Advantages of functions: it is main advantage is code reusability, better readability, reduction in code redundancy, easy to debug and test. Types of functions. Functions are classified into two types: user-defined and predefined functions. User-defined functions, it is defined by the user according to the requirements, called user-defined functions. So it is used to break down a large program into smaller functions. Main advantages is it reduces the source code, easy to maintain and modify. It can be called anywhere in the program. Elements of user-defined functions, that is function declaration, function definition and function call. Function declaration, it is a prototype of function which consists of function return type, function name and argument list. So it is always terminated with semicolon. It has four types, that is function with no arguments and no return values, function with arguments and no return values, function with arguments and with return values, function with no arguments and with return values. So function with no arguments and no return values. So here no data transfer takes place between the calling function and the called function. Function with arguments and no return values. So in this prototype, the data is transferred from calling function to the called function. Function with the arguments and with return values. Here the data is transferred between calling function and called function. So the value received from the function can be further used in the rest of the program. Function with no arguments and with return values. So in this prototype, the calling program cannot pass any arguments to the called program. Next is the function definition. Here the process of specifying and establishing the user-defined function by specifying all the elements and characters. When the function is defined, space is allocated for the function in the memory. So here function header and function body are the two parts. So the syntax is return type function name argument list, open braces the function body and close braces. Next is the function call. It can be called by simply specifying the name of the function and return. So function call statement invokes the function. So once the called function is executed, the program control passes back to the calling function. So there are two ways that the C function can be called from the program: call by value, call by reference. So function call by value method is actual arguments are copied to the formal arguments. Hence any operation performed by function on the arguments does not affect actual parameters. Next is the function call reference. The address of actual arguments is passed to the formal parameters, which means any operation performed on formal parameters affects the value of actual parameters. Next is the recursive functions. So it is a process of calling the same function again and again until some condition is satisfied. The main syntax is function name, open braces, function name, close braces, and different types of recursion, that is direct and indirect recursion. Direct, the function is directly recursive if it calls itself. So function name 1 open braces and the conditions, function name 1, and we have to give the conditions and close braces. Indirect recursion is function calls another function which in turn calls the original function. So first function name 1 open braces condition function name 2, then close braces, then function name 1 again, and then open braces condition function name 1. So it calls function name 2 calls, so which in turn calls the original function. Thank you.